Imagine this. A college student, just 22 years old, publishes a theory that completely rocks the scientific world. It explains one of the most basic processes of life itself, a discovery that could literally change how we understand diseases, even things like cancer. But this whole incredible journey, it didn't start in some fancy, high-tech lab. Nope. It started somewhere you'd never expect.
Yep, you heard that right. One of the biggest biological ideas of its time actually grew from a little kid's fascination with butterflies. And this is the story of how that happened.
So, let's meet the star of our story, a young boy named Richard Ebright, or Richie, growing up in Pennsylvania. Now, Richie was an only child, and from a super early age, he just had this intense, burning curiosity about pretty much everything around him.
I mean, you can't really play baseball by yourself, right? So he poured all that energy into collecting. And he was serious about it. It all kicked off with butterflies when he was in kindergarten. But pretty soon it was rocks, fossils, coins, you name it. He even got into astronomy and would spend whole nights just staring up at the stars. Now, here's a really key part of the story, his mom. After his dad passed away when he was in 3rd grade, she became his best friend and his #1 fan. And this is so important. She didn't just put up with his hobbies, she encouraged them. She'd take him on trips, she bought him microscopes, telescopes, all of it. She spent so much time with him, helping turn that raw curiosity into real, actual learning.
And get this for focus. By the time he was maybe 7 or 8 years old, he had already found and collected every single one of the 25 butterfly species that lived near his home. This wasn't just a kid catching bugs, this was a passion he followed with some serious determination. So you'd think that's it, right? He'd collected all the butterflies, end of story. But then, his mom gave him something that would completely change the direction of his life. And it was just a simple book.
But this was no ordinary storybook. It was all about the amazing journey of monarch butterflies all the way to Central America. And here's the best part. It actually invited the reader to get involved, to help with the science. For Richie, this book opened up a whole new universe.
So this book totally set him on a new path. It connected him with a scientist, Dr. Urquhart, and pretty soon, Richie was tagging monarch butterflies for a real scientific project. But to get enough butterflies, he just decided to raise them himself. We're talking thousands of them, right there in his basement, watching them go from tiny egg to caterpillar to beautiful butterfly. He had gone from being a collector to a real citizen scientist.
But you know, becoming a great scientist is almost never a straight road. In the 7th grade, Richard Ebright learned one of his most important lessons ever, and it all started with, well, failing. In public. He took his project to the county science fair. These perfectly neat slides of frog tissue. He sat there and he watched as pretty much everyone else got some kind of prize. He got nothing. It was this sad, empty feeling, but it also sparked something inside him. And that's when the light bulb went off. He realized the huge difference between just showing something neat and actually testing something. All the winners, they hadn't just made a nice display, they had done real experiments. They asked a question, and then they tried to find the answer. He figured it out. Real science wasn't just about being neat. It was about asking why. So with this new fire in him, his next projects were actual experiments. For another fair, he decided to test the theory that viceroy butterflies copy the look of monarchs because monarchs taste awful to birds. See the difference? He was doing real science now, and this time, he won.
This new approach really kicked things into high gear, and it led him to some incredible research in high school, which all started with another simple question about the monarch butterfly.
So if you ever look at a monarch pupa, you'll see these 12 tiny, beautiful gold spots. Most people, even other scientists, just thought they were for decoration. You know, just pretty. But Ebright, he had a hunch. They were there for a reason.
And oh boy, what a reason it was. After tons of experiments, he proved that those little spots actually produce a hormone that's absolutely essential for the butterfly to fully develop. I mean, that's already a huge discovery. But he kept going. In college, he actually figured out the chemical structure of that hormone. And it was years later looking at X-ray photos of that exact hormone that he had a flash of genius, an idea that went way, way beyond butterflies.
To really get how massive this idea was, we just need a quick reminder about DNA. Think of it like the blueprint for life, right? It's the instruction manual inside every single one of our cells that tells it what to become and what to do. But for the longest time, one of the biggest puzzles in biology was, how does the cell actually read the blueprint?
What Ebright's theory did, the one he developed with his college roommate, was it explained how a cell could actually read its own DNA blueprint. It was a possible solution to one of biology's greatest mysteries. And the whole thing, the entire idea, was sparked by a simple question about some shiny gold spots on a butterfly.
I mean, to get this paper published as a college student in a major scientific journal, it was just unheard of. It was like a baseball player stepping up to the plate for their very first time in the big leagues and hitting a home run. Just a spectacular, once-in-a-lifetime kind of achievement. So, when you look at his entire journey, from a kid collecting butterflies in his backyard to a scientist on the verge of changing the world, what does it really take? What are the core ingredients that make a scientist?
You know, his high school teacher said something really interesting about him. He said Richard wasn't just competitive in the normal way. He wasn't doing it for the prizes of the awards. He was driven by a desire to just do the best possible job, to find the real answer. He wanted to win, but for all the right reasons. And that right there, that gives us the blueprint. According to his story, it takes these 3 things. You need a sharp, first-rate mind. You need a driving, unstoppable curiosity that makes you always ask why. And you need the will to win, not for the glory, but for the love of the work itself.
Richard Ebright's story is amazing because it shows us that world-changing discoveries can come from the smallest little sparks of curiosity. It's a reminder to pay attention to those little questions that pop into our heads about the world. So, that makes you wonder, right? What are you curious about today?